What if I told you that working less could actually make you more productive? Sounds crazy, right? Well, major companies across the globe are betting millions on exactly that idea. They're switching to 4-day work weeks, and the results are shocking everyone, including the skeptics who thought this was just another workplace fad. Picture this. It's Thursday afternoon, you're wrapping up your work for the week, and you've got 3 full days ahead of you. Not a vacation, not a special holiday, just your regular weekend. That's the reality for thousands of workers right now, and their companies are reporting something unexpected. Revenue isn't dropping. In fact, many are seeing it increase. Let me take you back to where this really gained momentum. In 2022, the UK launched what would become the world's largest trial of the 4-day workweek. We're talking 61 companies, nearly 3,000 employees, all guinea pigs in an experiment that many thought would fail spectacularly. The deal was simple. Work 80% of your usual hours, keep 100% of your pay, but you had to maintain 100% productivity. Sounds impossible? That's what everyone thought. Fast forward to today, and 92% of those companies are still doing it. Not just trying it out, not running another pilot, they've made it permanent. Microsoft Japan saw productivity jump 40% during their trial. Let that sink in. They worked less and got more done. A fish and chips restaurant in England found their staff were more focused, more refreshed, and their customers were actually happier because the employees weren't burnt-out zombies going through the motions. But here's where it gets really interesting. When researchers went back a year later to check on these companies, they expected to find cracks in the foundation. Maybe the novelty had worn off. Maybe productivity had crashed back to earth. Nope. The benefits were holding steady. Employees were still 39% less stressed, 71% less burned out. Sick days dropped by 65%. And get this, 15% of workers said no amount of money would convince them to go back to a 5-day week. Not double salary, not a corner office, nothing. So how does this actually work? You can't just tell everyone to take Fridays off and hope for the best. Companies that succeeded got ruthless about efficiency. They killed pointless meetings. You know those hour-long meetings that could have been an email? Gone. They started timing everything. 30 minutes max for any meeting, and they actually start on time. Revolutionary concept, I know. One company introduced something called Monk Mode Mondays, where people block off huge chunks of time for deep, focused work. No interruptions, no quick questions, no got-a-minute drive-bys. They treat email like the time thief it is, checking it only at set times instead of living in their inbox all day. The results go way beyond just happy employees. Companies saw revenue stay the same or increase. One study showed average revenue growth of 35% compared to previous years. Employee turnover, that expensive nightmare that keeps HR departments up at night, dropped by 57%. Think about what that means. Companies spend thousands hiring and training new people. When your employees stop quitting, that's money straight to the bottom line. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? Well, there are some real challenges. If you're running a hospital, you can't just close on Fridays. Emergency rooms need to stay open. Buses need to run. Stores need to serve customers. Some industries require coverage 7 days a week. No negotiation. There's also the compressed schedule problem. If you're cramming 5 days of work into 4, those 4 days can get intense. Some workers end up with 10-hour days, which sounds manageable until you're actually living it. Late nights can mess with your sleep schedule, and suddenly that extra day off doesn't feel worth it if you're exhausted the other 4 days. Small businesses face their own hurdles. They might not have enough staff to rotate schedules. Client expectations can be tough to manage when you're closed an extra day. One consultancy in the UK trial had to quit the program because their clients freaked out about Friday availability. Sometimes being an early adopter means explaining yourself constantly to people who aren't ready for change. But here's where it's really driving this movement forward. It's not just about work-life balance, though that's huge. It's about recognizing that the way we work is broken. Burnout is at record levels. 63% of knowledge workers experienced it last year. People are anxious, exhausted, and frankly fed up with spending 5 days a week in jobs that probably could be done in 4. The timing couldn't be better. AI is starting to handle more routine tasks, automation is speeding up processes that used to take hours, we're working smarter with better tools, so why are we still chained to a schedule invented for factory workers in the 1920s? The 40-hour work week made sense when most jobs involved physical labor, and being present meant being productive. But for modern knowledge work, not so much. Young workers are leading the charge. 62% of both millennials and Gen Z want a shorter work week. They're not lazy, they're logical. They've watched their parents burn out, miss family events, and sacrifice health for jobs that replace them without blinking. They want something different, and companies desperate for talent are starting to listen. The tech industry is jumping on board. A new pilot program specifically for UK tech companies is launching this summer. They know that attracting top developers and designers means offering more than just ping-pong tables and free snacks. A 3-day weekend every week? Now that's a perk worth talking about. Even countries are getting involved. Belgium passed a law giving workers the right to request a 4-day week. Iceland ran successful trials that led to shorter hours for thousands of workers. Spain, Portugal, and Germany are running their own experiments. This isn't some fringe movement anymore. It's going global. Of course, there's pushback. Critics worry about customer service, scheduling nightmares, and whether productivity gains will last long term. Fair concerns. But companies are finding creative solutions. Some stagger schedules, so there's always coverage. Others focus on results instead of hours, letting teams figure out their own arrangements. The real question isn't whether the 4-day work week can work. We've got enough evidence showing it can. The question is whether we're brave enough to challenge the status quo. Are companies willing to trust their employees? Are workers ready to prove they can deliver the same results in less time? What do you think? Would you take a 4-day work week at your current job, or do you think your industry couldn't handle it? The future of work is being rewritten right now. Major companies are making this permanent. Employees are happier, healthier, and sticking around longer. Revenue is holding steady or growing. Maybe it's time we stop treating the 5-day work week like some sacred tradition and start asking if there's a better way. We might just find that working less really does mean achieving more. Sometimes the best ideas are the ones that sound impossible until someone proves they're not. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.